Well, hello and good evening, everybody. Welcome to the All Portable Discussion Zone, a bi-weekly live stream all about amateur radio portable ops. My name is Charlie, call sign is November Juliet 7 Victor, and with me this evening are the show's two co-hosts, Brian, W7JET, and Dan,
Hello, everybody.
KC7MSU.
Howdy.
Just to remind you, every other show, Brian, Dan, and I will be coming to you with our own topics of interest. So we don't have a guest tonight on the show this evening. It's just the three of us. Welcome to those of you who are in the chat. I hope that you have comments and questions you'll send over our way so that we can address them. And I hope you enjoy the show. Also, don't forget, this does convert into a podcast about 24 hours after the show plays. So you can find it on most podcasts. So our format for this host only, no guest show is for each of us to take a turn discussing a topic, and we'll also cover what we've been up to for the last couple of weeks in each of our presentations instead of just doing the round. So welcome everybody again, and let's get started. I think I am the one who is to be going first this time. So let me pull up my slideshow here, and we'll get going. Slides? No, I don't do that. I do share screen, entire screen, and here we are. And up it is. There we go. Very good. So my presentation tonight is on SOTA pack loadouts and the different options that are available that people do, and just kind of a discussion of that a little bit. After I'm done with that, Dan, real quick, what's your topic on?
Mentoring in portable radio.
Okay, cool. And then after Dan's done, then we'll go with Brian, and his is?
I'm going to talk about 10-meter FM and 10-meter repeaters for those who have not messed with it. It's a good time. I might also talk a little bit about my failed activation earlier today.
Yeah. Cool. All right, guys, let's get going here then. Welcome everybody again in the chat, and I am going to just advance my slide. So first of all, I wanted to thank all of you who are YouTube members, Patreon supporters, Buy Me a Coffee contributors, just regular subscribers, those of you who subscribe to the channel, and those of you who, when I post videos, leave comments and questions. All of that is much appreciated. The people here I've got listed in the right of the screen are contributors, most of them, or at least half of them, on an ongoing basis. And as you see down here in the bottom, I have a goal to purchase a N3ZN Lite, a ZN Lite 2 at some point, and we're almost to that goal. That's a request people have made for me to review this in my paddle reviews, so I'll be doing that. And also, all these people here on the right are eligible for my next giveaway, which is this power supply. So let's move on here. I just wanted to remind everybody that there's an International Earth Moon Earth conference that is normally overseas, but this year is happening in Washington, D.C. area. And so if you're interested in Earth Moon Earth, like our friend KR7RK is, maybe take a trip out there and check it out. Also, we do have a build-a-thon coming up. And that build-a-thon, we're going to build what's called a CP cider. And what that is basically is this vacuum tube here is going to blink whenever you send Morse code through your kit. And so we have a series of kit building projects that I've partnered with Rex Harper to do. Rex Harper provides the kits, and people who are interested in building the kits, they can purchase them, but you don't have to purchase anything. You can just follow along on the live stream when we build them and learn a lot that way as well. So that's going to be at the end of the month. But if you do want to follow along with the kit, then you need to go ahead and purchase that through qrpme.com. All right. Next thing is, what have I been up to? Well, most recently for work, I went out to Florida and I participated in the Gartner Data and Analytics Summit. And I mentioned that to my daughter a few minutes ago, and she said, "Wow, that sounds really boring." But no, it wasn't. I really enjoyed it. It was a great conference. This is what I do in my work. I'm a data person, and so it was very enjoyable. Also, a couple activations we did since last time we talked. I did Needle Mountain with my wife. It was a good activation, and then on Apache Peak a few weeks later, I reviewed a little bit of equipment. You'll see down here at the bottom, on the bottom right. So you can see me up there with the Pentec TR35 holding it up, and then below that picture is a picture of a cactus wren nest. sitting in the middle of a bunch of cactus. So that was pretty interesting on that hike. And then also here on the far right is what do they call them? A GPS, where you cache. What you call it? What do you call them?
Geocache.
Geocache. That's right. And it was completely, well, there was still stuff in it, but it was destroyed. And I looked up the geocache, and it said that they're not even supposed to be there on state land, trust land, and if you find one, to bring it home. But that was after I was already home, so I left it there. But anyway, that was a fun trip. So anyway, let's get to my topic. So hopefully we don't run out of time and everybody has time to talk about everything that they want. So again, my topic is on SOTA pack loadout options. And this topic stems from comments that I did a social media 1 minute short, and I showed, and all I did was I just took snippets of every piece of gear that I took on my last activation up there to Apache Peak. And some of the comments were like, that is a big loadout compared to my true SDX and ultralight NFET half wave. And wow, that thing looks like it's heavier than my truck. And yeah, I had a lot of gear on this situation, on this last activation, but there's a reason for it. And so I thought it'd be a good idea. This kind of spawned my idea of maybe we just talk a little bit about what is in our packs, and so I'm just going to go over that real quick. So the question I pose to you who are in chat and who are listening is, do you always take the same items in your pack on a Summits on the Air backpacking trip? Or do you switch it out? And leave in the chat what you do. I have some bullet points here. Do you always take the same thing, whether it's a 1 mile or less hike to the top of a summit where you only have a very, very limited amount of time? And also, is it the same piece of gear or the same loadout when you do multi-day backpacking, or when you have a long hike in the snow, or when you're traveling for work or a vacation, or when you're driving to the top of a 100% drive-up peak? Is your pack always the same, or do you switch it up? Do you have different pieces of gear that you use in all those? And of course, this last bullet point is a giveaway. Do you know, YouTuber filming and trying out new gear? Obviously, for me, it's always different, or almost always different. And so sometimes I carry a lot of gear, and sometimes I carry very minimalist amount of gear. And that is, I think it was Josh from our friend Ham Radio Crash Course, and also Adam in our chat. It depends. This is the ham radio operator's favorite thing to say, is it depends. In almost every topic, right? So let me just go over here and I'll show you that my equipment varies a lot. And here's just kind of a snapshot of some of the stuff. I have some pictures of just some different things that I carry in my pack, different loadouts for different situations. So here's the Elecraft KH1 loadout. In this, you've got limited bands and modes, but it is lightweight and it comes with a tuner and a battery. I mean, how much more lighter can you get than this? You basically have the radio is just this, basically in just this area here. All you've got is just the radio, and it's all right here, and it goes in this little pack. Of course, I have on the right of there, I have my GPS messenger, which I always take no matter what in every pack, and the head net for the Africanized bees, and a little rain poncho emergency one, some sunblock, and some lip balm. Those 5 items are always in my pack, along with a sweater, a sun shirt, and a hat. So and I always take trekking poles. So minus those items that I always take with me, this is a pretty light pack. And sometimes it's what fits best for the situation. If you, like, for example, when I was going to Florida, this would have been perfect because it's I don't want to spend a lot of time out in Florida. I was at a conference and I only had a few hours, so fortunately I didn't get to do anything anyway. But that would have been the kit for me. So a lot of people actually want to expand the amount of the different types of bands that they can do, because back here you're limited to this one antenna, and so it's 3 bands. I think it's 15, 17, and 20 are the 3 bands you get with that antenna. So some people add a little bit more. Me, I've done that. I've added like the dipole with the mount and an extra key and earbuds to bring my pack up a little bit more, and also an extra battery just in case, because I like redundancies. Some people like this AX1 and AXE1, which will afford you to operate on all the bands that the Elecraft is capable of doing. But still, in this case, you're limited to just those bands. It's not an all band, all mode radio. So In some cases, that might be good, but in other cases, it may not. Here is the MTR3B. This is my loadout for when I do backpacking trips. In fact, Sandy and I are planning on doing a backpacking trip to the Grand Canyon in October. This is what I'm going to take. All the radio gear here, you need the MTR3Bs right there. The battery is in the same case with it, along with the earbuds. And then I have the N0SA paddle with a backup one, the N6 ARA paddle there, the link dipole, and then of course the mast and some tie downs for it and some cords. So really also pretty light. It all fits in this black bag here. All fits right in this black bag. So very light. You can fit a whole bunch more in this pack. Next thing I wanted to show you was what I most commonly use whenever I go out on a Summits on the Air activation. And so it's a little bit more gear. Again, I like the redundancy. There's more of a footprint here, and there's more capability as well, though. And then there's the redundancies. So this is an all-band, all-mode radio. The FT817 is what I use, and it's got, you can see there's the microphone, and I also carry with me a 2-meter handheld. Now, I've had the question asked before, why would you carry a 2-meter handheld when you have 2-meter capability in the FT817? Isn't that just more weight? And well, the answer is yeah, it's more weight, but it's so hard to communicate with with that FT817 in your hand or whatever you're trying to do. It's just much easier to have a handheld. Plus, many of us like to just have the radio on while we're hiking up and communicate and stuff. So you couldn't do that with the 817. So that's what I also have this extra antenna, the end-fed half wave from Pactena. It's always in my pack as a backup because I've had a time or two where I couldn't repair. I've broke the link dipole. It didn't work properly, and so if I hadn't had the backup, I wouldn't have been able to make any contacts, I don't think. And then I'm reviewing a paddle. I've got my Pico Palm here. And then I always have an extra paddle that I'm trying out as a test, just to see how it's going for my paddle reviews. So this is what it packs up into. This camera case I just got at a thrift store to put my FT817 in to protect it a little bit more. But you can see, other than that black case there's 2 bags. Everything packs up into those 2 bags, and then except for the battery you have there. So it's still a pretty light footprint and a pretty decent loadout. Sometimes I add a 2-meter Yagi to this loadout, and so it adds just a little bit more, but not much. So the same loadout I use here, I also can use to swap it out for other gear that I'm testing. So if you look at the Zygu G90 swap out here, basically it's the same thing. Let me back up here and show you. I mean, it's exactly the same gear. All I did was switch out the stuff there on the right. You can see right there, it's the same. So that's convenient. This is pretty much my go-to, everything I use all the time. You'll see there, actually, these are different. I forgot to mention these right here are different connectors that I've used in the past, and then there's a filter right here for 2 meters. Sometimes I'll need to use that when I'm near antennas and stuff. Sometimes I need to take 2 radios with me, and this last loadout where I did the 1 minute video of the last loadout I did, I had with me the G90 or the G106 and the Pentec T35. The reason I had both radios is because we're in the peak or the wonderful time of 10 meters. And so this Pentec that I wanted to take along with me does not have 10-meter capabilities, nor does it have sideband capabilities. So, I took the Pentec, the T35 along with me to review it and to try it out. But then I was not going to miss out on opportunity to work 10 meters. So I needed to bring with me a radio that is 10-meter capable. So that's why I had both radios in that case. And so here it is. This is the loadout I had on that video that I posted, the 1 minute short. It has extra gear because oftentimes I will want to review a product and video it and put it out on social media. And so in addition to all this gear that I normally take, I also have a inline recorder so that people can hear my Morse code a little better. Of course, the GoPro and a DJI mic for my lapel, and then some tripods to video. So it does start growing and getting bigger, and it's still not too bad. All that though packs into something like this. So all this gear right here, that you can see is packs into these 1, 2, 3, 4 bags plus a little bit of extra. Still not too bad. It all fits in that blue pack, which is a 25 liter, and isn't, I don't think, that bad of a weight. Here's some other stuff that I take along with me on occasion that I've used before, but I don't really carry a whole lot. On the far left are sleeves, sun sleeves. Instead of taking a shirt, just take the sleeves that go on your arms. Here on the red is some gaiters that I take a lot of times if I'm like going up of like a cinder cone. You really need that. On the right over here is a dipole that I've taken them many times, and then that bag there that says Teton. That's a blow up seating pad, and below that is like a portable chair, a really lightweight portable chair. And that blue tarp there is for what I use in the winter if I want to activate and I need something to lay my gear down on. But so anyway, there's still a wide variety of gear that I take, depending on the situation. Just like Adam said earlier, it depends. And I know Adam's been on the summit with even more gear than I have, more and heavier gear than I have. And it's not really so much whether it's good or bad or indifferent. It's just a matter of what you're trying to accomplish. One other thing I'll mention is this is always in my truck, this bag right here. Anytime I go for Summits on the Air activation, this is in my truck. The contents, it's just a weather bag. Winter, summer, rain or not, I have all the gear I need just to switch it up. So if I head up to, say, Flagstaff, which is a 3-hour drive away, and I think it's going to be sunny and it turns out it's going to rain, well, I've got frog togs and I've got a rain jacket. If it turns out it's going to be colder than I thought, I've got long johns. If I end up getting wet, I have a clothes to change out. I've got gloves in there. Plus, I also have a little stove where I can heat up some tea or some hot chocolate. So that all sits in my bag, and I can pull that out just before I head out on my excursion from my truck, just in case I need to adjust things a little bit. So last thing here, I think, is the different packs that I use. Starting on the left, we've got the 25 liter REI, and then a 30 liter, a 44 liter, and a 55 liter. All of them I used for different occasions, and it just doesn't matter, really. It just matters what you need to fit in there. So one on the far right, the green one, that's what I use for overnight backpacking. There's actually a 17 liter, which is even smaller than the 3 you can see here, that I use occasionally. So again, it's what you're trying to accomplish is going to determine what loadout you have, and what you have in your pack is going to be different for me anyway every time I go out there, pretty much. So this right here, this is my minimalist loadout. I have literally taken to the top of a summit before multiple times, a handheld radio in one hand and a bottle of water in the other hand. And I don't think it gets much lighter than that, but this is one of my loadouts. And so you can see the wide range of loadouts between a radio and a bottle of water to, all that gear with the filming and all that. It's just really, it's up to you to determine what you're trying to accomplish. And so how much gear is too much gear? That's the question I pose to you. And so the answer is you need to use the right equipment for the job. And so if all you do is go to the top of a summit and hike to the top of a summit, you don't film it, and you always are wanting to accomplish the same thing, you have the same objective, make 4 contacts and end, then maybe a mountain topper or a true STX would be your best bet. But you have to remember that it's all relative to the objective at hand. And so things can change a little bit depending on your objective. Some people, it's not affordable to have very lightweight gear, and so that's a factor too. Some people can't afford all the gear that others can, and so you've got to make sure that I guess it would be in keeping with the ham radio code of conduct to not really pass judgment for people who have large antennas, heavy backpacks, and carry lead acid batteries to the top of the summit, because maybe that's their objective, maybe it's their goal, or maybe they can't afford it. And also, there's this whole thing with redundancy, which I'm a believer in. Of course, I could lighten my pack and make it as light as possible and eliminate all the redundancy, but I don't want to get to the top of a summit and not be able to collect the points for it. Of course, the journey is part of the whole experience, and hiking up and back is great, but I would really be disappointed especially if I hike to the top of a hard summit like the mountain that Brian just tried to do today and didn't get those points. It would be disappointing if I didn't do that just because the battery's not working or my antenna broke or something. Sometimes weather's a different story. But that's it. That's me. Let's go ahead and see your comments that you have in the chat here, and while Dan brings up his presentation. But I hope you enjoyed that. That's just kind of my loadout. I know everybody has different things that they do, they bring, but it's interesting. I'd be interested to see your comments in the chat and see what you guys have to say. So, all right, that's it for me. I'm going to release this and let you take over, Dan.
All right, sounds good.
All right, so far I have Adam in chat says it's all about pack out priorities and variations. Absolutely. And then a bunch of hellos and glad to see us here. So that's cool for sure. All right. All right, Dan, take it away.
All right. I'm going to do mine kind of on mentoring in portable radio, mostly because I had an opportunity to do that over the last weekend. So it was a lot of fun and really enjoyed it. So as an introduction, mentoring in amateur radio is an opportunity to share with someone something that you're passionate about. And for me, the thing that always makes me nervous about doing this is like, well, what if something gets messed up or, it's not perfect, it's not the best experience for them or whatever. Um, I've kind of finally decided that, don't worry about making it perfect because, there's an opportunity there in what's not perfect to, teach, learn something for yourself or teach the other person that you're mentoring something that maybe it may happen to them at some point and they may need to recover from it. The thing, I tried to keep this pretty simple. So there were some things that I did to try and keep it that way. First thing I did is since this was going to be a Summits on the Air activation, I sent a bunch of information to the other person as far as links, like to Summits on the Air websites and, um, other tracking sites, hiking sites, YouTube channels for several people who, enjoy Summits on the Air because there's a whole lot of great information about Summits on the Air through YouTube. I chose a summit that's easily accessible here in the Valley. Matter of fact, it's one that gets used a lot for first-time Summits on the Air activations. Is Lone Mountain here in Arizona. It doesn't have a big altitude to overcome. It's about 725 feet elevation gain over a little over a mile. So it's relatively easy to get to, and it's close to our homes here in Mesa, Arizona. And the one thing that I like to do is to just enjoy the hike. Um, it's a great opportunity to get to know people even better than you may know them. So it's keep that in mind. Take your time and simply enjoy it. All right, the student this time is a friend of mine. He lives close by, David, KI7PPY. He's licensed in 2017. He's a tech class license um, and is a family man. He likes to do outdoor activities. So that doesn't leave, since he's, family man and everything, it's difficult. I think we've probably all, kind of set interests aside, especially in amateur radio, and came back to them later on. Um, but he wanted to get out and try something different. He hasn't really had a lot of opportunities, to operate on repeaters, let alone get on HF. So he said he would be interested in it, so I was more than happy to take him along. Coming up with a plan. The part that I forgot to put on here, I should have, is like Charlie was talking about, you have various loadouts and stuff that you may take with you when you are going to activate. And I didn't think about this until Friday night, but I was thinking, oh, where am I going to put him on HF? And most of my antennas are all 20, 30, 40 uh, band antennas, so it's very difficult for a tech to be on a lot of those. So I decided to put together a 10 meter dipole, and of course that was on Friday. So I'm out in the backyard Friday, out there trying to measure, and it's been a while since I built an antenna. I was like, wow, this is really not the way I was anticipating going. But I finally got it put together, and uh, so we were planning on using 2 meter FM and 10 meter single sideband. So we did a lot of the hike, rest, hike scenario, mostly because I hike like a tortoise. Um, when we got up to the summit, I basically unpacked and tried to go through most of the equipment that's in my pack and what I use it for. Um, Showed them a little bit about the equipment and how to actually set it up. For this event, we took and logged on paper. Didn't want to add anything extra in there. Trying to make sure that a logging app was working properly on his phone or my phone. Uh, Taught him a little bit about spotting and how to spot. In this case, we used the SOTA app, and then we just had some discussions about how to operate. And I know I kind of harped on this in the past, but don't be afraid to define your own style of how you operate. So whether you're a SOTA enthusiast or a POTA guy, um, people want to make contacts with you. So it's up to you to run your mountain or run your park, and do it the way that you're most comfortable and makes more sense for you as far as being able to make contacts, get them logged, etc. We talked a little bit about how to call. You don't need a big long uh, series of calls to in these particular activities. That's what's so nice about them. It's very scripted and very defined, so it's kind of nice for a new operator. You don't have to worry about having a big long conversation with somebody. um, Pileups are interesting. We actually heard one of those, and it was a good learning opportunity for David, how to deal with that. And also, if you hear just a partial call sign in the mix, you can pull that out and use that to your advantage to get that contact in there. A little bit about signal reports, based on what you can see on the radio, as well as um, over time you kind of get used to just by ear where about they are as well. Um, Also, calling often, so you're on a frequency and you might not get anybody to come back to you for a while, but be consistent about how you call. You know, make sure you're calling, at least every 5 seconds. If you don't hear something, get back on there so that nobody else stumbles across your band and decides to try and use it. And then dealing with the unexpected, I kind of view that as you're kind of in a little bit of a rhythm, and somebody pops in there and they want to have a little bit of a conversation. So um, it's a little bit distracting, kind of throws you off your game. So get back, onto your game again. As I said, we operated on 2-meter FM and 10 meters single sideband, which works. 2 meters works out really well here in the Valley, because there's a lot of folks who will listen for you. So it's a great way to introduce somebody to this activity. And on 2 meters, you can get them used to it before you move to HF. So all in all, it was a pretty good day. He was able to make 5 contacts on 2-meter FM, and 10 contacts on 10-meter single sideband, and so he got a good first SOTA activation out of it. Um, We also played a little bit and heard a Puerto activator in Puerto Rico on 10 meters, and it was just like he was sitting on the peak with us practically. We could hear him extremely clear. We tried to contact him, but just could not bust through. But this is the conversations that we were listening to about how to deal with a little bit of a pileup. So it was pretty sustained as far as people who were after him. So it was a good teaching tool. And we were able to talk to a few hikers at the top of the summit. So we got a little bit of experience about, when somebody asks you questions, how do you explain, kind of what you're up to, because it's a little bit different for most people. And most importantly, we had a great hike and conversation up the summit and back down, and had a wonderful day out in the field. And looking forward to his next activation. So hopefully we'll get him out here within the next month onto another summit and try it all again. That's all I have.
Okay. Sounds good. There's several comments in the chat. Maybe we'll go ahead and get to those after Brian presents, if there's any time left. There's several things, one from Gary, a couple from Kyle, and so forth on some of the two different topics we've had so far. But let's let Brian get going here, and we'll let him get set up. Maybe I can get through a couple before he gets set up. So we had back on my presentation, Scout 75 says, like I often said, it's finding the balance between two hiking mantras of 2 is 1, 1 is none, and ounces, pounds, pounds, pain, based on your loadout trip, safety, and fun. Yeah, that's very well said. Very well said. Yeah. You ready, Bri?
I am all set.
All right, here we go.
I'm all set. All right, so we'll talk about 10 meter FM, and then maybe at the end I'll give a little quick on what happened earlier today that just made us not finish our summit. So who knows? I'm sure everybody knows that we have FM privileges on 6 meters and above, but we actually also have FM privileges on 10 meters, and there's actually repeaters there as well. The start of the 10 meter FM portion of the band is 29.600. So I'm going to go ahead and share some stuff on my screen on the right side. So let's share some screen. And we are looking at, boom. So let's see. Is something happening? Can you see? There we go. All right. So there is the ARL band plans for us. And as you can see, we've got 10 meter privileges. And for those that don't know, 10 meters is the largest allocation that we have in the United States for HF privileges. And the top portion of the band from 29.6 to 29.7 is where FM resides. 29.6 is the calling frequency. And then you have FM repeaters up there as well. The FM repeaters are a lot of fun. And if you want to know if the band's open, especially for the West Coast guys, there is a repeater located in New York State called the KQ2H repeater. And let me go to that now. And I would probably be better at this. All right. So let's see. Let me switch my switchy to that. And we should have repeater book up. Okay, so repeater book. This is the KQ2H 10 meter FM repeater. The repeater has a PL tone on it. However, most of the time it is not on PL. You can key it fairly easily. I was actually on it yesterday. I was doing a demonstration for a new ham that came by to visit the shack and showed him how 10 meter FM works. And he was pretty impressed with it. We were listening to a guy in New York City on an HT on a 440 repeater that's linked to the 10 meter repeater, have a QSO with a guy on 10 meter FM in the Canary Islands. So it's pretty neat stuff. Most modern radios have 10 meter FM in them. And most modern radios have PL as well. There's a good listing on the ARRL repeater book and also on repeaterbook.com to find all these repeaters. And then there's individual sites as well. So here's just a regular listing. It's a little bit easier to break down than the one on repeater book, but you can just Google 10 meter repeaters, and you'll get a whole list, and it'll tell you which ones require PL, which ones do not. The just back to the KQ2H repeater really quick. There's if you go back through the archives, you might have heard of it, you might not have. It's called the Rain Hamcast, and it's an older ham radio podcast, and there's a really great interview in there with the guy that built and owns and maintains the 10 meter repeater KQ2H, and most of the equipment for that repeater is stuff he built himself. It's repurposed commercial equipment. The antennas, actually, he had to design his own because the original antennas were not robust enough, the commercial grade ones that he had, for the amount of power he was pumping through them. Somebody can correct me on this, but I believe that repeater puts out somewhere between 600 and 1,000 watts on FM. So it's a blowtorch.
Nice.
Blowtorch.
Yeah, it's a blowtorch, to put it simply. And apparently he was failing antennas left and right, so he finally designed his own and built his own. He talks extensively how to take for those from my previous life. If you have an old low band pager that's in the 33 megahertz band, a Motorola Minotaur 2 or a Minotaur 1, you can actually retune those and crystallize those so you can receive on 10 meter FM. And he apparently has set up a couple of them for himself to do that, so he monitors. This repeater is extensive. It's voted, and I said it's linked to multiple UHF repeaters throughout the New York area. So if you want to have some fun, go check that out. It's a good time. Sometimes it's just fun to listen to it. And it said, if you want to know if the band's open, key it up, and if you hear the repeater, the band's open. As far as 10 meter FM, 29600. What I do a lot of times if I'm running around the house is I'll leave my radio in the house on 29600, turn the volume all the way up with the squelch set, and then all of a sudden you just start hearing stuff come through. I had a rag chew about 3 years during the last 10 meter opening, so that was like probably 2015-ish. But I had a conversation with an Italian on 10 meter FM. He was mobile in northern Italy. He was using a repurposed Motorola radio with a 5/8 wave whip on the back of his car, and we talked for about 10 minutes while the band was open. That was a really good time. It was wild, and it's for all of us in SOTA. We've done a lot of, I would call local DX, 100+ mile contacts from the top of a mountain with an HT. And if somebody said to you, Brian, you're talking to this guy on 2 meter FM, it would sound exactly the same. No difference at all, other than it's obviously not line of sight. It's skywave propagation. For antennas for FM, if you're just doing DX or normal skywave propagation, the polarization of the antenna isn't going to matter. Just like on regular sideband or CW, if you're using a vertical, by the time it gets to where it goes to, it doesn't matter. But if you were trying to do local line of sight simplex, then the polarization absolutely would matter, just like it would with your HT. So if you're talking to somebody with a horizontally polarized antenna, we know some people like that here in the Valley. They're going to be squawking at you to hold your antenna horizontal. Well, the same thing would have to happen with 10 meter FM. If you're trying to have an FM QSO with somebody locally, you're going to have a significant loss in gain if you're going from a vertical to a horizontal antenna or vice versa. A lot of the radios that we all use for SOTA, the FT817, the Elecraft KX1 or KX3 and KX2, have FM capability in them, so you can play with that, as well as I think the ICOM, the 705, and a few of the other ones out there. I'm not familiar with all the Chinese radios, so if the different radios that come out of China that people are using have FM in them, work just the same. Main thing is obviously you got to remember duty cycle. It's just like using an HT. So when you key full down, if it's set for 10 watts, it's going to put out 10 watts the entire time you're talking. So antenna, feed line, all that stuff is going to be important. You can't use thin stuff. SWR is going to also be important because, again, you're running full duty cycle. So lots of power going out. If it's not going out of the antenna, it's going one place, right back into the radio, right back into the final. So those are cautions that you should use whenever you're using 10 meter FM. Just like if you're using 2 meter FM or 6 meter FM, you have to be aware of the fact that that if you're not using a resonant antenna, it either needs to be protected with an antenna tuner, or you need to make sure you're using a resonant antenna. Otherwise, you're going to damage your radio.
Yep, for sure.
So I can't really think of anything else to talk about with regards to 10 meter FM. It's just fun. Try it out. It's a really good time. 10 meters is open right now. Listen on 10 meter FM. Play around with the repeaters. There's a whole list of them. You will not be disappointed. It's a really cool thing. It's amazing doing FM DX.
Yeah, very good. So I'm glad we have a little time left. We can get your video here in a minute, but I also wanted to ask the chat. So this is, I think, our second, maybe third time doing this with the presentations. And I don't know, Dan and Brian can respond too. Do you think we ought to do a presentation, pause and answer and ask questions, and then go to the next presentation, or just get all the questions and comments at the end? I mean, because there's pluses and minuses to both. If you stop, there's a bunch of questions, and you may not get to the next presentation before it's time to end. But at the same time, it's kind of hodgepodgey when you address all the questions and answers and comments at the end. So I don't know. Maybe you guys put in the comment what you think is best and let us know. But let me go ahead. This time, we're just going to do it here at the end. Brian, let me do a few. And then did you want to show that video too, Brian?
Yeah, it's kind of, I can show it real quick. Unfortunately, it came from a cell phone, so it's a little Sasquatchy, but I'll show it. I'll show it here. And for those that don't know what I'm talking about, if you've never watched a video of when somebody has seen or believes they've seen Sasquatch, it's usually like the world's worst video ever. So let's see if I can get my.
I've seen him several times. I just never got a video of it.
Yeah. So, all right, hold on. All right, so viewer discretion is advised because the weather was poor. So we were supposed to go.
We're still seeing the 10 meter repeater directory.
Yes, no, I know. I got it booted up and ready to go. I just need to switch the screen here. So let me try. Hold on, I'm screwing that up.
While you're doing that, let me get to a couple more comments, and then we'll get to more as we go here. So if you have anything else, add it in the chat. So while he's pulling that up, here's one from our good friend. Here we go.
All right, we're awake. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and click the play button. So we are activating Iron Mountain in the Superstition Wilderness, which is out on the end of Hewitt Station Road. And for anybody that's driven that road, it's 13 miles long, and it takes about an hour to drive 13 miles on that road, just to give you an idea of the road condition. It climbs up to a trailhead called the Rogers Trough Trailhead, which is significantly higher than where you start from. And we had some weather over here the last couple of days. It was supposed to be a nice day. Brad told me it was supposed to be a nice day. I thought it was going to be a nice day, and then this happened. Again, Sasquatchy. So yes, it's me. It's not Sasquatch, although it could qualify for a Sasquatch video. So I'll let it run here for a second.
Sasquatch sighting.
Definitely not.
So that's looking up toward the summit right there. That's where we were supposed to go.
Lovely.
That's hail, right?
Yeah, that's hail right now.
Wow.
You betcha.
So that was about 4.5 hours ago, out in the Superstition Wilderness. It's, if you look, I live right as far as everybody goes. I think I'm the closest to the three. My shack window looks out toward the Superstition Wilderness, which is about 5.5 miles away from me, and there is nothing but towering cumulonimbus clouds right now over the Superstition Wilderness. So it was a good time. It was an experience. By the time we got back to the car, it was actually heavy snow, and then there was almost 2 to 3 inches of snow on the ground on the road. And you guys haven't driven up there yet, but the climb up to where the trailhead is on a good day not great as far as the road's concerned. And today it was even worse. So it was a good time.
Cool. Yeah, I'm glad you had it and not me. Okay, let's see here. So Bill, our good friend Bill from Hamburger Tectonic, says, what I have to say is you guys are putting on an awesome stream. So thank you, Bill, for that. Gary, K7UOU, he's here in Phoenix area as well. He says, thanks for sharing this, Dan. I would not be doing SOTA if it wasn't for KF7MP Burke, who took the time to show me the ropes. I am forever grateful. So yeah, that was a good topic, Dan. Then we have Ryan says, I live at 75 or 70 feet. I would be a tortoise too. Talking about Dan's tortoise. And then we've got Kyle. Good presentation, Red. One thing that comes with experience is what to pack, knowing what to pack and what to leave at home, and that is so true. As you take stuff out, oftentimes you're like, "Wow, am I ever going to use this?" Or, "Oh, I forgot to bring that." So, yep, experience is key there. Also, Kyle says getting a tech on 10 meters is one sure way to get them to upgrade to general.
When we were out, I was pretty amazed at the number of contacts in the area of the spectrum that he was, really able to use was really good, and also the number of just local contacts that were made was pretty crazy during that time frame. I mean, I just was totally freaked out because even got Vince V6LK in my log on that Saturday. And I just sat there kind of stunned because I was like, okay, I know that call. I just couldn't put the name together.
Yeah. Cool. So let's see. We've got Ham Radio Wilderness with Frank. I love that. That's cool. He says the KQ2H ding dong repeater is fun to hear in California.
Bing
it must send a bing bong.
Yes, it sounds. It's a doorbell. So when you key up on it, you hear bing bong.
Cool. Yep. And then the question I posed, comments and questions at the end or between sessions. Frank says, "Yeah, let's do it at the end for sure." And then of course Kyle in his shenanigans says, "I think you should show the presentations and then roast everybody who comments." I like that idea. I like that idea, Kyle. Let's start with you, buddy. Anyway, so I think that's about it. Oh, one more here. Brain damage soda. What did he put me to put soda?
Yeah, I think soda.
Get your read timer hail helmet on. Yeah. Commenting on that video. Okay, cool. Well, we've got about 10 minutes or so left. So what are your thoughts? Let's just take each of the presentations and why don't we all just kind of provide some thoughts that we have on that. On each of them. So starting with mine, what do you guys have any other feedback or thoughts that you wanted to share?
No, I thought yours was really good. You know how I pack. I pack the kitchen sink, and the problem is, I think the problem really is that I've got too large of a backpack, so it just affords me the opportunity to throw 50 of everything in my backpack. So, and also obviously the smaller the backpack, the lighter just that particular pack is as well, which is kind of nice. So maybe I should start thinking that way so that I'm not jamming quite as many. The odds are of me having to need 2 batteries. I could easily leave one in the truck, and if it's low or whatever, I can always pick up the other battery. So those kind of things, I know I can be definitely smarter about.
Yeah. You have anything more to say on the packing thing and gear and equipment, Brian?
I would just say that for the most part, it's exactly what Dan says. If you got too much room, you're going to throw too much in because it's like, oh, I could need this, I could need this. And then the other thing is it comes with time and experience. I can absolutely tell you that my pack when I started compared to my pack now, it's a lot smaller. The only pack that I carry to a summit that is ridiculously overweight is the 2 meter contest pack, and that's just simply because I need a lot of gear to do what I want to do when I'm on the mountain, and it is a very heavy pack.
Yeah, who's W7 EVE, Brian?
Some groupie. I have no idea.
He's your biggest fan. He says, "Thanks for all the great info." Hi, Eve. Nice to see you on listening.
I like those smaller bags that you have, especially the ones that look like they're made out of parachute material. So I've never seen that particular kind of pack. So I need to look and see about maybe finding some of those.
Yeah, for sure. And then Matt says, no matter what size pot I have, I always want to fill it up. Good analogy. All right, well, let's go to yours, Dan. So your presentation, I thought was very well presented in a good topic, a really good topic. particularly the fact that you're giving back to the community, you're helping people to who are inexperienced. And I think that, I mean, I think even Brian, with Brad, I mean, that whole situation with you and Brad, he just came to you as well, right? And just said, hey, I don't know what's going on. Can you take me on a few? And then it led to a good friendship, right?
Absolutely, yeah. It started over a conversation where he was taking notes and some barbecue, and now it's become a regular, routine thing for hiking. And I mean, I had the pleasure of taking both of you guys out as well, and early on, and it was a lot of fun. But
Yeah.
good times.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I remember wanting some of that guidance and wanting somebody to go along with when I was very first starting out, and so return the favor. It's such a great thing to do for the ham radio community and for Summits on the Air or Parks on the Air is to now that if you're more experienced, take somebody, make yourself available if you can to do that. Chris says, "I'd like to fit everything into a smaller backpack, then move everything to my actual backpack. It allows me to think of things like food, first aid kit, and survival kit." Yep, for sure. And then Richard says he's never done a summit. Oh man, Richard, we need to get you going, buddy.
Yeah.
All right, so let's see. On Brian's, I think Brian's presentation, Brian, it was very apropos, and it was very fitting to, basically, I mentioned 10 meters and how important it is to have that opportunity to make sure you have a 10-meter capable radio. At these times, Dan mentioned the fact that you've got a technician. Really, the only way other than FM you can get on the air would be through. Well, not the only way, but the primary way to get on HF would be 10 meters as well. And so then you follow it up with the 10 meter stuff. And 10 meter FM, I'm not really familiar with it. I'm glad that you brought it up and talked about it. I think it would be fun to talk to somebody across the pond with that repeater there in New York or wherever. See if I can get somebody in Europe. You said the Canary Islands was where you got to?
I mean, I've done so on through the repeater. I've had a lot of really good conversations over the years through the repeater. That particular day or yesterday, I just happened to be listening, and it was some guy in I think it was in New York City on an HT on UHF cross banding through their repeater system into the 10-meter repeater. I was talking to an EA8, which is Canary Islands. So,
yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, I really think 10 meters is a great band right now. To be honest, it's unusual. The last couple of weeks have been unusual. Our friend Pete, WA7JTM, he went out a few days ago. It's probably been a couple of days. He got on a mountain and he only was on 10 meters. He ran out of time. He got on 10 meters, started calling, and he had to pack up and go. He was still getting calls on 10 meters. He had to go. Had over 100.
He had a
10-meter
ridiculous count on 10 meters.
And of those, he said he had 20 or 30 that were summit to summit, and half of those 20 or 30 were European summit to summit contacts. So 10 meters is on fire. It's the place to be. So don't miss out. If you're doing Parks on the Air or Summits on the Air, make sure you can, if you have that capability, get on 10 meters. It's fun right now. Yeah.
Yeah, and you never know too. I mean, use it for short range too, because I got a whole bunch of contacts that are within the state of Arizona on 10 meters as well, and it's just getting to be a real fun band to play on.
Well, I just for the heck of it turned on the 10-meter calling frequency on FM right now, and there was an Alpha Gulf 4 talking to a 7 call on 29,600 FM right now.
Well, that's pretty cool. Can we hear it, or is it? Can you turn up the volume, or is they not on?
They just stopped it. Hold on, there's other stuff on the band scope, so let me see what. Yeah, here we go.
Actual reading, and you can do that, but hopefully you get that sorted out. Yeah, radio problems can be a nightmare in some of these newer roads. They're not easy to work on. So. All right, yep, I'm going to jump out for a bit here too. I got a couple things to do, but I'll listen to the background.
Yep, 10 meters is definitely good and hopping.
So that was somebody?
So that was the KX4R repeater, which I believe is located in either Florida or Georgia. And that was a Canadian station having a QSO with somebody there.
That's very cool.
Hey, buddy, 5-7 to Japan. Yeah, great. Get back to me, but I got to do a couple things here quickly. Be trim them. All right, Thank you. Z9 in.
So anyway, that's what it's going to sound like. Just like if you're listening to a 2-meter repeater, they'll still be, because it's HF, there's going to be QSB, which is what you were hearing, some QSB. And then the other thing is too, since there's not a ton of pairs for 10-meter repeaters, you will hear overlap. You will hear you'll hear the signals doubling, and then eventually the capture effect that FM has kicking in, and the other signal dropping off in favor of the stronger one.
Oh, so this is like on like an FTDX10 I have, and it's just like on your HF radio then, right?
Yep, that's it. I mean, the what you were hearing is coming courtesy of the Kenwood TS890 that's hooked up to a hex beam, and that was my hex beam that's currently pointed east right now.
Yeah,
And
but you have to.
But you have to be on FM, and then you'll have to run split. And some repeaters you need the PL for, some you don't, and it's all trial and error and that sort of thing. But the 29.6, it's just like listening on 14652. You just turn it on, set the squelch, and listen. Or you could just call CQ on there, just like you would if you were calling CQ on sideband, and someone will answer up.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Cool.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we're almost out of time. We've got Jason, Ham Radio 2.0. He'll be starting his live stream here in about 3 minutes or so, 2.5 minutes. So I would encourage you all to head on over there and get him, watch his stream. It's say Red Seminar. Just FYI, Jason starts in 3 minutes. He has a fun WPSD update for Pi-Star if anyone is interested. Okay, very good. Thank you, Frank, for letting us know that. So Jason, Ham Radio 2.0, go over to his YouTube channel and find out all about WPSD and the Pi-Star. That would be good to do. All right, Brian, Dan, it's been good hanging out with you. Everybody in the chat who joined us, thank you so much. Those of you who listen later on the podcast or whenever, I really appreciate your support. And Dan and Brian have been great friends for a long time. We need to go get lunch again sometime, maybe next week or the week after. It's been a while.
Sounds good to me.
All right, everybody. We'll catch you later.
73, all.
7th, everybody.